Okay, good morning or afternoon or whatever it is when you're watching this. Let's walk through a quick reminder of how to create bar graphs, pie charts, and histograms in Excel, because that's going to be your assignment for this review article. So planning and conducting surveys. Take some time to read through this, watch the videos, and then at the bottom of the article, you're going to be answering the first six questions. I go down here. And they will ask you to make They will ask you to make a pie chart or pie chart and bar graph or histogram. And again, you're only going up through the first six questions. So let's look at pie charts and bar graphs. So I'm going to look at this data. So it's display, analyze, and interpret statistical survey data. This is categorical data because I have my sports categories, and then I have the number of students that like each sport. And then we're going to make a pie chart to show the percentage of students in each category. So here's Excel. Open up a blank workbook, and you can start typing anywhere you want. Here's my categories. So I type these in, and here is the numbers I'm going to put in. So I'm going to put in the number of students that like baseball, the number of students that like basketball. Let's go down the list here. 8, 9. And because this asks for the percentage of students, I need to actually calculate percentage here. And Excel can do that for me. I type in equals into the box where I want the calculation to be, and then click on the box for the number of students like baseball and divide by 112. That is the total number of students that were surveyed here. And the same thing here, equals 17 divided by 112. And I can keep typing on down the line, but a quicker way is just to go back to one of the boxes I already put the formula in, choose the bottom right corner of that box and drag down, and you'll see that it pastes that formula and does the calculations for me. So this gives me the decimal number. I want to change that to percentage. So highlight the entire column, choosing the letter C, and then I can reformat that entire column so that it changes everything to percentage. There's a box in the top middle of your menu up here. It says general right now. I'm going to change it to percentage. And there's my percentages. Okay, so let's make a pie chart and bar graph. So bar graph and pie chart. Let's go to insert and then choose the type of chart you want to make. Do a basic 2D graph. You can make it as complicated and as nice as you want here. And I can see immediately that it has my data here, but it has both the number of students and the percentage. All I want is percentage. So we need to change the data. We need to change the selected data that is in this chart. And so I just click on the chart and then go up to select data. And I can see here's my entries. I've got series 1 and series 2. I want to get rid of series 1. Series 1 is this first list of numbers. And if I look at where it says Y values, I can see it says B4 to B11. So those are the ones I want to get rid of column B. So click on series 1 and click the minus sign, and it's gone, leaving only the second column of percentage numbers, and OK. And immediately it changes. And when I click on this, I can see the two sets of data that are represented here. Percentage is already on the side, sports on the bottom. I'll give my chart a title so I know what this is showing. Let's go percentage of students. Like each sport. Get rid of this thing here. There's my title. And then I'm going to get rid of this series 2 thing down here because it's kind of redundant. It doesn't tell me anything about the data. And then I'll make this a little bit smaller. You can change the style that you like just by choosing one of the bar graph types up top. It's up to you. Okay, and then pie chart. So we're gonna do the same thing. Click on the word baseball here. That's the first category I'm working with. Go to insert and choose pie chart. And you can do 2D or 3D pie chart. And again, it's going to make a chart with all the data here. I do not want this middle set of numbers. I only want percentages. So I'll go to select data. Again, get rid of series 1 because that's the first list of numbers. Click minus and then OK. Notice the pie chart didn't really change. But if I want to show the percentages on here, I want to actually have them labeled. I'm going to choose a different style. So here's one that shows the percentages. But the 3% and 2% I kind of squished in there. So I'm going to click on those, and you can drag them out so that they are easier to read. And then give my chart a title, because we always need to have a title. Percent of students a long title. Make it however you want there. So there's my pie chart. Okay. So I'm going to go to a new page to make a histogram. So let's scroll down. The rest of this article, it tells you how to calculate percentage. It shows you what your pie chart and bar graph should look like for this example. There's another video here. And then I'm going to use this data to create a histogram. And to make a histogram, we also need to make a frequency table. So let's go to a new sheet here. Okay. So find a blank sheet and a frequency distribution table. So that's going to be a list of all the numbers here. I'm not concerned about the categories because a histogram is not categorical. I just want to know how many times does the number 0 show up, how many times is the number 5 and the number 4. So how many times do I see a student working 0 hours? How many times do I see a student working 5 hours for this data set? And I'm not even concerned about the total number of students that were asked here for each grade. We're just looking at, if I can have it, we're just looking at the number of times we see each value. And so for Excel, you actually have to type in all those numbers. So I've put in a list of all 60 numbers from 0 all the way up to the last number, 16 here. So I went from 0 to 16 and all the numbers between there. So I put those in. Then I have to describe for Excel how I'm going to break these numbers up. And we know in a histogram and in a frequency distribution table, we have to have at least 5 categories or 5 classes. So we look at the range of the numbers. I'm going, smallest number is 0. The largest number in this data set is 22. So I want the range from 0 to 22, which if I just subtract 22 minus 0, that's 22. And I'm going to divide that into 5 groups. So 22 divided by 5 is 4.4, which means my groups are going to be size 4. So I'm going to be making my distribution chart here, class, boundary, frequency. So my classes are going to go from 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, and 20 to 24. So I've included all the values, possible numbers that could be in this data set. The boundaries for this, we always go half a step below and half a step above each class boundary. So I'm going to basically go from -0.5, which in this sense, in this situation doesn't mean anything. We can't have negative hours. So I'll just start with 0. And I'm going to go up to 4.5. Make sure I get all the numbers in this class. And then the next class is going to start at 4.5, which is half a step below 5. It's going to go up to 9.5. Then we're going to go from 9.5 to 14.5. We're going to go from 14.5 to 19.5. And then 19.5 to 24.5. Then frequency. How many times do I see a number between 0 and 4.5 in this list? So we actually have to count all the zeros and all the ones and all the twos and all the threes and all the fours. To save time here, I'm going to look at the frequency chart they made for us. Theirs looks a little bit different because we learned how to do it this way that I'm showing you in Excel. So it looks like the number between 0 and 4.5, we have 23 numbers. And there are 12 numbers that occur between 4.5 and 9.5. There are 13 numbers here and 9 here, and 3 numbers that occur between 19.5 and 24.5. What that means is that there were 3 students who were surveyed here that worked between 20 and 24 hours every week. There are 23 students who were surveyed that work between 0 and 4 hours every week. Okay, so let's make a histogram. This is our frequency chart. Now let's make a histogram. And the histogram needs your list of data, and it also needs the upper boundary for each class. So 4.5. The second class goes up to 9.5, up to 14.5, 15.5, and 24.5. Okay, so I'm going to go to make a histogram from this data. I'm going to choose the Data tab, go to Data Analysis, choose Histogram, and click OK. And then I need to show the input range, which is going to be all the numbers in my A column. So I'm going from A1 colon to A60. I get all 60 numbers on my list. The bin range is my boundary number, so that's going to be B1 colon going up to B5. New worksheet is clicked, and chart output, make sure that is checked so you get an actual chart. When I click OK, it's going to create a histogram and frequency chart on a new tab, on a new worksheet. Okay, let's give our histogram a title. This is hours worked. I cannot spell worked by each. Bin down here, this is showing the number of hours. Frequency just shows the frequency of people or the number of students who worked up to 4.5 hours. This is the number of students that worked between 4.5 and 9.5 hours. And we don't have to change any of that. The more that shows up here, we still aren't quite sure why that's there. But if you want to change this, you can change each word in your horizontal category axis here. But at this point, I'm not really going to worry about that. You can also change the way your histogram works or looks. What we do have to do is get rid of the gap between these columns. So if I click on one of the columns, and I'll look over to the side here, it says gap width. I want to reduce that because a histogram doesn't have any gaps. Remember, that's the difference between a histogram and a bar graph. Bar graph, we can have gaps between the categories. Histogram should not have any gaps. Okay. And then the stem and leaf plot, you can read through that. Those are really easy to make. You can just type that into Excel, like the way they show you here. So again, you're answering questions 1 through 6. Create an Excel sheet for these questions. Feel free to email me or contact me if you have any questions about what you're doing or how to do it.